we've got a couple announcements really quick. I know Max is normally doing it, but I'm doing this announcement because it's serious. Okay, we're gonna have another edition of Good Market. Yeah, right, and that's gonna happen December 5th and 6th, and it's gonna be in 2 locations, double the fun, double the selling opportunities. It's going to be December 5th and 6th, and it's going to be, one place is gonna be at the Simon Benson House during Farmers Market, and then we're going to have a pop-up kiosk shop at Land Gallery Saturday and Sunday, December 5th and 6th from 10 to 7. What that means is that we need you guys to make work to sell. And you all might be sitting here right now going, I don't have anything to sell. I don't have anything to sell at all. Why would anyone want to buy anything from me? Well, you're wrong, okay? And I really want to help brainstorm with you to figure out the type of work that you're making. Maybe you've done some really great illustrations this term. Maybe there's some things that you've done in projects that can be kind of appropriated for either posters or prints or buttons or cards, or maybe we could get some fabric printing going on. Maybe some of you make wallets. Maybe some of you print t-shirts. Let's figure out how we can get your amazing work into a form so people can buy it from you, okay? But I want you guys to start thinking about what it is that you can do to share for Good Market, which is December 5th and 6th. We're gonna have workshops. You're gonna get so sick of me talking about it. I already did this in my sophomore class this morning where people are working on stuff. I'm like, that looks really great. You can turn that into a card. And so I will probably go into classrooms doing that exact same thing. I will be aggressive, but positive aggressive, okay? Because it's all for the benefit of you guys. I want you guys to start getting your stuff out there, showing people what it is that you can be making. Last year's Good Market was a huge success. We're gonna have another really big success. And I'm just really excited to get that going. So be thinking about what it is that you want to be making. Tell other people, talk to each other, talk to me, and we'll make some good stuff happen for the Good Market. Okay, I'm gonna hand this over to Max now. Let's clap for Max.
And now it's gonna get really uncomfortable and awkward for everybody. 2 things: the sign-up form for Good Market is going to go live today, and then drop-off deadlines will be announced later. And then there's an info session next Thursday after Show and Tell. So if you have any questions, you can be there for that. And then we are going to talk about Annex, which has been happening. This is the last week for Annex. So the deadline is on the 15th. You can email any work to annexzine@gmail.com. And they're taking all themes at this point. So childhood memories, toys, hometowns, middle school, and this week's theme, which is crushes. So you can draw like a heart.
Who is your crush, Max?
No. This is on the internet, no. After this, they're gonna do a drawing party next to that cool sign at the end of this today, as usual. All right, and then we're gonna just steamroll into this. Forgot the word.
You're thinking about your crush.
No. Awful. Okay, so Bijan Berahimi is a Portland via LA-based graphic designer who received his BFA from CalArts in 2013. Shortly after graduating, he relocated to Portland to work on the 2014 World Cup for Nike Soccer's brand design team. There, he worked to help define a visual language for Nike's voice throughout the World Cup across multiple global campaigns and special projects. And I took a really short piece, so there's a bunch more. But also, he's the founder of FIST on Mississippi. And so now I'm just going to let him fill in the holes.
Can I just talk really loud? Do I have to use the mic?
Yeah, use the mic. That's crazy.
Okay.
Like, sorry.
All right, I've never used the mic before, so
You're doing a really good job.
this is really weird. Okay, so this is my lecture. I want to talk about keynote effects. Keynote effects are really, really cool right now. I don't know if you guys have messed around with keynote effects. But my lecture is called This Image, and this is the image that I made for this lecture, and I made a flyer out of it, and hopefully you guys all have a copy of that flyer.
With extras in the back.
Cool.
And all of that work is also on the table too. So if you haven't had a chance to see it, you should take a look.
So this is my 5th lecture I've done. This mic is just killing me.
I know,
I feel like I'm on an intercom or something.
but I can't even hear you.
Really?
Yeah, I really
Okay.
can't.
Okay, so I'll just like kiss it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I've made 5 flyers for the 5 lectures I've done, and basically it's an excuse for me to make something cool, and also it is an artifact of this experience that we're all experiencing today. That's my favorite aspect of it, is that we're all here in this room together, and this flyer that you guys are leaving with represents that this specific experience. So I want to talk a little bit about the flyer that I made for this lecture. So this was November 7th, which was on Saturday. I sat on my couch and I opened up my laptop to do this keynote presentation, and I didn't know what to do. And I felt like I needed a cool image. And I wanted to reference that every interview I did for internships when I was in school, I would always bring my work in person to show, just because it was kind of easier and I didn't really like showing big posters on a small laptop. So I went downstairs and I just had an idea to throw my work on a table and take a picture of it casually. And then I got stoned and it turned into this really crazy thing. I just like had this idea of like plastering the walls with my work, and I wasn't really thinking about it. Yeah, and I always ask myself this when I'm making stuff for myself, especially. One of my teachers in school would always, he would always push us and be like, "Is this the best poster you've ever made?" And most times it was no. It's still no, but I still ask myself this question as a way to kind of push myself in my process, like, because a lot of the times you can kind of stop working and be done with something. And I always ask myself, like, is this as good as it can get? Like, what would I want to see? Like, how can I have fun? Because otherwise I feel like you're kind of wasting your time to a certain point. Like, how much work can you make? So that was the point, and that's kind of why I went crazy with it. And my roommate has a studio next to my studio in the basement, and he came out and he was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, this is crazy." And he was like, "You should photograph yourself in the room and make it look like a small room." And when he said that, I was like, okay, tight. Like, I'll go lay down like this because this seems right. And then like, this is super embarrassing. And I sent it to my sister via text, and I was like, "Isn't this funny?" And she was like, "No, this is mad creepy." And I was like, "What? Like, this is tight." And she had this idea for me to go sit differently, and I went and I reshot it, and it's way better now, and I don't look as creepy. But anyway, so I just wanted to explain kind of why I made that image. But back to the flyer. So the reason why I do these flyers, I always make a physical artifact for everything I do, is because of the guy to the right, this guy named Ed Fella, who was one of my teachers at CalArts and a big influence on me. That's him. He's the oldest guy in the photo, in case you guys were wondering who he was. This is him in the studio at CalArts. Interned for him for 3 years. And it's not that glamorous. Most of it was mowing his grass. And I also, the things I'm most proud about is I taught him how to use Tumblr and WordPress and Keynote and how to use a scanner. So those are my big accomplishments with my internship with him. But most importantly, I spent a lot of time listening to him talk. He loved talking. And I would watch him work sometimes, and his studio was this crazy mess of cool looking stuff. And I learned a lot from him. And one of the things that he did that I really admired when I was in school was for every lecture or gallery or anything he ever did, he always made a flyer for it. And these flyers he's been making for the past 30 years, they've turned into this huge body of work that he's made. And it's kind of one of his most prolific bodies of work. And there's a few in MoMA, I think, so that's pretty cool. And here's a little child looking at them. And here's a close-up of one of the flyers. They're really, really amazing. And even though I was really inspired by his work and him as a human, his work was way too hard to copy because he used these crazy templates and like crazy old school things that I don't even know what they are. So I was really influenced by him, but like not by his work necessarily, because it's not dated, it's a little dated. So this is Ed in the early 50s. He grew up in Michigan and he became a young commercial artist in Detroit, where he worked for 30 years. He's had a really, really, really long career. He worked commercially for 30 years and he's taught at CalArts for the last 30 years. And while he was working as a commercial artist, he explored a bunch of different styles for different kinds of clients, a lot of car company stuff. The fact that he's had 2 careers has been a huge influence on me, and the fact that he has the ability to produce all these different kinds of work has always been really interesting to me, and has made me interested in commercial work in a weird way. Yeah, like I feel like commercial work has a pretty bad stigma in the design industry. A lot of people just want to make art, or they want to do cultural work for museums and record covers and posters and stuff, which I love to do and I'm totally guilty of. But I think there's something beautiful about doing work that has constraints for a client and that is seen by a lot of people. And we're totally in a different era of design where things are much different. But one of the things Ed taught me was to master style and move on. During my first year at school, I was doing a lot of hand-drawn work that I was really into. And he sat me down one time and he was like, listen, like this work is great and you're really good at it, but move on to something else. And that kind of really has impacted my practice since then. And also the fact that he's been making work for fucking like 60 years. Like that's so long. Can you guys imagine making work for 60 years? That's crazy. And this is always something I have in the back of my head too. Like there's plenty of time to do things. You don't have to do everything right away. So yeah, so what I want to talk about is how he's influenced me, but not specifically with his aesthetic. And I bring up influence because I know in school you're inspired by things all around you and things online and teachers, and I think it's great to be influenced and it's natural to being a student, but I think it's worthwhile to look at why you're inspired by those people, because their work is a direct expression of them as humans and their emotions and their background and where they grew up and where they lived and everything. And for me, I've realized that I'm more interested in these people as people and less about their work. I think it's easy to be into someone's work, but for me, it's really magical and beautiful when you find out their story and a little bit more about them. Yeah, so Ed's really influenced me to just keep making work. And that's what this photo kind of represents for me, is his influence on me in a way that might not be visually apparent. And that leads me to habits. I think habits are really important, especially when you're in school. I'm sure all of you guys already have habits, and maybe some of you don't know that you have habits, but I think school is the best place to fully dedicate yourself to your practice and develop these habits. Do things you want to do, things that are fun. Don't do things you don't like to do. I don't understand why people do things that they're not into. People will make work about things they're not into. Like, just do stuff you like and stuff that's fun. Even if you don't know how to do them, take the risk in school and fuck up and like make a mess and like get people mad. Like, this is the time to do it. So Fisk actually started when I was at CalArts in 2009, and this is the first habit that I've created for my practice, not knowingly. So it started as an online blog where we posted student work from all across the country, and we did interviews with people. We did one with Will, like that was our second one, which was pretty cool. That's how I met Will. Crazy, I just sent him an email and he was down, and that was it. So Fisk was kind of a platform that I created while I was in school. It really taught me how to send emails, which was great, important thing to know. But it also taught me to ask for things from people. And so basically it was a platform I made for the students, other people in my class. There was a really strong poster culture, and no one really beyond CalArts saw these posters that students were making. So we started this thing called Things We've Stolen. We had these red gloves, like being caught red-handed. It's really bad. It's a bad idea, but anyways, it was cool and people were into it, and people were, you know, stealing posters and wanting to take photos with them, and we put them online. We changed the logo out every week, so when we did an interview with someone, we asked them to do the logo. And a lot of these ideas are pretty bad now looking back, but like it was just a reason to make stuff and a reason to to have fun and hang out. When you're at school, like you're in a very specific community, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that. There's not a lot to do at school, so like if you start something, the likely chance is other people in your class are probably going to be into it because you're all in the same position and you're all interested in design. So just constantly generating ideas. This was called a Fisk Fiesta, which is also a horrible name, but we just like hung out and we had some designers play music. One of the most important things for me was we made a zine. This was the first one that we put out in December of 2009. I signed up as a student club and got $200 a semester in budget. and we made the scene, and I asked 3 people from each year level to do a piece inspired by the holidays, and I left it on everyone's desk before Christmas. So in my 4 years at school, we created these 6 publications, and they all changed in format and production methods, and the insides all look different, and they got bigger as the years went on, and I got more confident. Like, I never did the covers for any of them until the last one. I never laid out any of them until the last one because I wasn't confident as a designer, and I mainly organized these things. But the last one is my favorite one, is the one that I did the cover and I kind of laid out and kind of just was more confident in my voice as a designer. But FISC was a really social thing, and it was mainly an excuse to hang out with people. And it was about all these people being in a specific place at the same time. So it was very specific. And that brings me to context, which is a word I really like to use. I really like this word because I think FISC couldn't exist anywhere else but at CalArts at that time. Yeah, and I think, so when you graduate, you're thrown into a completely different context, and it's scary. So I forgot to mention, I decided to kill FISC my 4th year. That was my thesis project, was I hosted a funeral for it because I didn't want, people were like, oh, are you gonna pass it down or are you gonna keep doing it? And it just didn't make sense for me to pass it down or to keep doing it, and it felt like a lot of pressure, so I just decided to kill it, which seemed like the natural kind of end of its life. So you graduate, and it's like, what do you want to do? Like, you do all these things in school, and you have to know what you want to do. Like, but beyond getting a design job, like, what are your goals? You know, I think it's good to start thinking about your goals, just things that you want, not necessarily realistic endeavors or anything. Just like, what do you want, like, as a human and as a designer? And I just, for me, they're really loose goals. Like, I don't really have any concrete ideas, but I'll share some of my loose goals with you guys. So when I graduated, I went to New York and I did some interviews, and I realized I didn't want to live in New York. And then I came back to LA, and then I realized I didn't want to stay in LA. So one of my goals was to move out of LA. Another goal was to make money because I had loans, and you have to be an adult and you have to make money. And the way you make money is usually by getting a job. Another like just thing I wanted to do was make cool work. You know, like that's like something we want to do, right? Like as designers, you make cool shit in school and you want to keep doing it. Every designer wants to do record covers just because all of my favorite designers do record covers, so why not? I was really into printing when I was in school, and I did a lot of screen printing, and all my favorite designers are doing like crazy things, and I wanted to explore that. There was this word called art direct that I heard about that I didn't know what it meant, and I still don't really know what it means, but it seemed really hard and scary and really abstract. And then even like personal goals, like I was like, I'm moving to Portland, I'm not living in an apartment, I want a house, I want space, and I'm not driving a lot. And then even crazy ideas that sound crazy now, and they sounded crazy then, like this is still a crazy idea, like have a storefront, like that sounds awesome. That's something I would kind of want. And then I had an opportunity a year out of school to get a storefront. And I just signed the lease, kind of not knowing what I would do with the space or what it would be called. Then I thought I should do a gallery. I want to keep working with people. And then I realized that it was kind of the same project I was doing in school, but in a different context, the context of Portland now. So I called it FISC. And then all these things just came together. Like I didn't have a like clear idea of like, I'm going to restart FISC in Portland. Like it just happened. So what I'm saying is like you should make your own opportunities, because no one is going to give you a gallery out of school. Like no one's going to be like, here's the keys, like I'm paying for it, like you know how to curate. Like no one would ever give me the opportunity because I've never fucking had a gallery, you know? So like why would someone trust me? So yeah, we opened last year in September of 2014. And another thing I always have in the back of my head is, what's the worst that can happen? Like really, what's the worst thing that is going to happen? No one's going to die for me like being stupid and signing a lease for a space. So this makes like risky decisions a lot easier because I just kind of think about the worst. What's the worst? Like losing money, my parents would be mad, like failing horribly. It's cool, right? That's not that bad, right? Like that's okay. And I just want to point out, like I know nothing about galleries, but I have a gallery, so that's crazy. But I'm just saying I went into this with zero experience. The only experience I had was FISC at CalArts, which had no structure, no one telling me what to do. It involves a lot of things that the FISC at CalArts didn't, like this. Like I never want to do this again. Like this is crazy. I did not know I was signing up for this, by the way. there's a guy in the floor in that photo. I don't know what's going on there, but like this was a nightmare of my life for 3 months. And you just make decisions that you think are cool, like let's place an ad in the Mercury, which we never did again because I don't think it did anything. Printing t-shirts because I like t-shirts, making nicely printed flyers because I like nicely printed flyers, doing murals because I think those are cool. Basically, it's just doing things that I think would be cool and you hope other people think they're cool. And just things you want to see at a gallery. Like, I want to see a bootleg bathroom wall, like, wouldn't you? But then, like, you get to this point and you're like, fuck, what if no one comes? Like, what if no one comes to this opening? Like, what if you really fucked up? But then you realize people are pretty cool and people are into what you're into and you need to trust your gut. And the more you trust your gut, the easier your decisions get. And it makes you realize how important relationships are. We all need people. That's the reality of things. And relationships come in all shapes and sizes. Even like an Instagram post is a way of someone supporting someone. This person in the photo to the left is, his name is Michael Spoljaric, and he took a huge risk and has been supporting me with the gallery financially and labor and everything. He's helping with 50% of the gallery, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without him, but I don't know what he saw in me, but I guess he thought I could have a gallery. And the relationships with artists are kind of the most important aspect of it for me. A lot of the artists are my friends from school that I really like, that I wanted to showcase. Some of them are people that I've been a fan of for a really long time, and some are just random people that I met. And each show, the artists normally stay at my house, so it's a really intimate experience. And I've learned something week or month to month with each artist. And this is her name is Anu, and she came from Finland to stay at my house and do a show at Fisk, and it was her first time in the U.S., which is insane. Like, she came all the way over here for the gallery. And you learn so much about a person, like, and like what they do when they wake up, and like, you know, just like weird like things that you would never know about someone, or like what kind of coffee do they like? Coffee? Do they like breakfast? Or, you know, they like to sleep in or whatever. And not just like things about their work technically, but like literally, like I watched her make 2 large paintings, and like it's so cool seeing someone in their element and seeing how happy making work makes them, and like it just makes you feel good. And like how much they love talking about their work when artists are like totally in their element. This is Tim Lahan, and like he just like walked up to this wall and started drawing this fence with a brush and India ink with no pencil, and I was like, what the fuck? Like he just like did it. It's awesome. Or people that I've been a fan of for a really long time. This is the founder of Port, which is a studio that I've loved since I was a first year in school, and someone that I thought I would never be able to work with. And I learned so much from him, and just beyond like his studio practice, I learned that like it's okay to do things that make your life easier. Like, he told me that he gets manicures and pedicures, and I was like, what? Like, why? He was like, it just makes me feel good. And I was like, that's tight. And then I got a manicure and pedicure like last week, and it was tight. Like, I liked it, you know? Or like people who teach you that it's smart to invest in yourself and your own work. Like, I'd never thought about it like that. And these 2 guys from Dark Igloo spent over $1,000 making this eraser mold, which is like crazy. Like, you spent $1,000 on this? Like, that's awesome. But the one consistent thing with all these people and Fisk at CalArts is with everyone we always party, and that's kind of a huge part of the gallery process. You know, you work really hard for a week, and then you want to enjoy it and kind of like, I don't know, have fun. And it's really nice having this one thing every month for me to look forward to, and it's like I hide for the whole month, and then I'll see friends at this one night every month. So it's fun, and it's nice seeing people have fun and draw on walls and draw a Bart in a wave. And it's just a good reason to let go and really see the community come together. And it's always like really reassuring that people are good. I'm just really impressed that people show up, to be honest. I mean, like, people, there's so many things you can do. Like, you making a decision to spend your night at the gallery is so, like, such a beautiful thing, and like it means a lot to me. And people definitely don't have to buy art. Like, no one needs to buy art, but when people buy art, it's just so cool, and it really blows my mind, like, that people are spending their money on art. There's Will. Hey, Will. And then I wanted to do a little promo for our next show, which is next Friday. I have some postcards in the back, It's this Hong Kong artist who lives in New York. His name is Simon Chow, and this is a little sneak peek of his work, which is really great. So I want to say, like, Fisk is not for the money. Like, every time I talk to people at the gallery, the first thing they say, they're like, oh, like, is that your full-time job? Like, how do you make money doing that? And I'm like, I don't make any fucking money doing that. Let's be real, like, there's no money in galleries. So I want to talk about money. That's like one of the things that was a huge contrast coming out of school. Like, you don't have to worry about money necessarily in school. And that was huge, like, thing to adjust to. And especially in America, like, you really have to make money. You can't like present this idea of a gallery to the government and be like, yo, you want to pay for this? Like, they're not going to pay for it. We're not in Finland. So you really have to make money. And I think that's an important thing as a designer, a young designer, to keep in the back of your head. I know it sucks, but like, you have to make money. So you have to get a job, you know? My first job was at Nike. I moved to Portland and I didn't have a job for 2 months, and I waited it out, and I was in contact with a recruiter, and this job to work in Nike soccer opened up, and I was really excited, and I learned a lot of cool things. I learned what a deck was, and I learned what a mood board was, which I had never known when I was in school. That's what I spent most of my time doing, was making decks and mood boards, which is the harsh reality. But I'm going to show you just the cool stuff I did and the things that I learned. So this looks like just a photo of shoes, but this actually went through 10 rounds of photo retouching notes, which I think is really stupid, but it was something I learned how to do. Like, you like look for the smallest, this is art direction. You look for the smallest details and you make changes. I learned about making mock-ups of retail spaces and what kinds of things and concepts Nike people are into. Mostly just like speed and being fast. I learned how to make these diagrams, which this is our direction right here. So you make this diagram, and then you send this to a 3D renderer, and then they send you this back. This is a 3D render, everyone. It's crazy. So that's cool. This is my favorite one. You just send this, and then they give you this. Like, it's crazy. And like, I would have never been able to do any, like, no one's just like, I'm not just like, I want to do a 3D render of a table for no reason. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do this without Nike, you know, like, and I think that's really important to get those skills and to be at a big company like that, or, you know, have a corporate job where you learn these things. It's like, why would I ever want to do a table? Like, you know, I would never do this. But like, it's crazy. I'm sorry, it's just so crazy. And then I got to do things that I wanted to do for a while. Like, I was really into type design, and I really like designers who design their own typefaces, and I got to work on this font at Nike, and I basically sat behind a desk in Beaverton making this, and then next thing I know, it's like all over the world. And I didn't design any of this stuff in this photo. Like, it's super weird, you know, you're in school and you design everything, you print everything, you hang everything, you do everything, and like, you're in control of the whole process. And then you get to like the real world, and like, you just design a font and send a file to like some people in Korea, and they like make this crazy thing, and you're like, oh shit. But it's just weird not being a part of the process, and I think that was one thing that I had to adjust to. I got this really cool opportunity to design the invitation for the World Cup, which was my dream project coming out of school. I'm not entirely sure why I got the project, but I got to explore every printing technique I'd ever wanted to explore. And I think maybe the idea or the reason why I got the project was when I interviewed at Nike, I again brought all my work in person, and I think the design director was like kind of, I think he was a little shocked, but also like a little weirded out. Like, I don't think he understood why I was bringing my work in person. Like, I just bring in a cardboard box and it looks really janky. But I think it's important for people to look at the work in person. And that World Cup project had like a long list of other things that I was supposed to make, and I was really excited about it. And then one day they sat me down and they were like, listen, we need you to focus on the global campaigns. Like, we're going to take you off this project and hire a studio to finish all the other stuff up. And I was like crushed. Like, I was so sad. I went home. I didn't cry, but like, I was really sad. And like, I just decided to send an email to them, and I begged them to let me do it. And I was like, listen, I'll do it at night. I'll do it on the weekends. I'll do it for free. Like, I don't care. And they agreed, but they weren't happy about it. But I got to make this cool scarf, which I was really into. And like, I got to do all this weird stuff that like I wouldn't have gotten to do, because when you're working for a big company, you're not designing things all the time. So I got to explore this crazy rainbow foil gilding. So yeah, I had a really good time at Nike. But I decided to leave, and that's kind of when I started the gallery. So I quit Nike to start the gallery because I saved that money working at Nike and I just spent it on the gallery, which is not smart. But so I'm going to talk about post Nike. I'm going to talk about freelance, but I'm going to emphasize the word free because most people can't pay as much as Nike. That's a scary reality too. So you quit and you want to do all this cool shit, and then you realize most people's work that's cool was done for free. Okay. And like when you're in school, you're seeing all these designers who are making all this cool shit. Like that stuff, they probably didn't get paid that much. That's like the scary thing. So a lot of the work I do that's cool in my portfolio was done for free or for trades. Like literally, I design records for records. Like I trade for records, which is great. I like records. So these records have been really fun for me, and it's just something I can check off my list of goals. And they've allowed me to kind of not have heavy direction. Like when you're at Nike, you have a lot of people like looking at your work and like kind of you have to do mood boards and shit. But like when you're doing something for yourself and just working as a musician, you can kind of just pitch an idea and be fully in control of it. And this kind of brought me back to how I felt when I was in school. And that's kind of my goal when I graduated. I quickly realized that like my ultimate goal was to kind of create a similar scenario and setting that I had in school where I was in control of all aspects of everything, which sounds crazy and sounds awesome, but like, why not do that, you know? And sometimes like musicians have a little bit of money and sometimes they want to do a rainbow foil, which is really cool. It's a tape I designed, which is, you know, I did this in like a day and like sent it to the artist and they were cool with it and that's it. And then like from Dark Igloo, I learned that like, if you want to do something, if you want to make a blanket, then you should just do it and pay for it and like, just do it, yeah. So like no one told me to do this blanket, but I just wanted to make a blanket and it cost like $100 and that was that. A lot of the stuff I did for Nike, I've done with this printer called Premier Press, which is a great printer in Portland. That's a little shout out to them. But I asked them when I left Nike and when I started the gallery, I was like, can you guys print these postcards for free and like be a sponsor? And they said yes. And I told them if they ever needed help with anything that they could ask me and I would do it for free. So they asked me a few weeks ago to do a holiday wrapping paper, which I was like, yeah, hell yeah, that's awesome. So these are the two sides of that holiday wrapping paper. I'm calling this like a fictitious like holiday swatches wrapping paper. So it's just like a wrapping paper of a bunch of other wrapping papers. And this is a piece I did recently that I was really excited about. Someone from Nike is on the board at the Q Center, which is a community center for LGBT people. And they were having a gala and they asked me to do an invite. And like when I first graduated, when people asked me to do things for free, I would always like be like, oh, all right, like I'll spend like 20 minutes on it and just knock it out. And that was kind of my mentality of like, I'm doing for free, like why am I gonna spend a lot of time on it? But like lately I've been really into free work. And I feel like now if you look at free work in a different way, and if you look at it as an opportunity to do something you want, then it's worthwhile. Like you have to make it worthwhile for you. And you have to find a way to get excited about projects. So they had no budget to do a foil, but I was like, I'm gonna hit up this foil printer that I work with all the time and ask them if they would be down to do, you know, this invite for a good cause, like the way I was doing it for free. Like I wanted to just support the Q Center because I believe in it. And like, anyway, so they were down too, and that's awesome. So they decided to do the foil invite for free, and like that was a way for me to get excited about it because I want to do like a foil on foil printing technique that I've never done before. So like I would tell all you guys, like hit up places that you like in Portland, places that you go to or places that you want to support, and like look at their design. Like, does it suck? It might. And if it sucks, like you should email them and like ask them to do their shit for free, but like make it worthwhile for you. I think like doing free work has a really bad stigma. I think people usually feel like they're being taken advantage of, but if you work with someone who you trust and someone who you can collaborate with and someone who you can present your ideas to and that they're into, then I think it's great. And I think it's really great to support people. I think, especially after having the gallery, I think I've realized that it means so much to me when people attend events, like I talked about, and people buy art. And I would encourage you guys to do all this stuff, even if you don't have money. Like attending an event is really great. And then when you get money, buy people's art. Like you've been there, like you know how making a zine, how much time it takes, and like you spend all this time making this thing, and then you put it out in the world and you put yourself out there. Like Kate was saying, like, are you like, do you think people want to buy it? Like they probably will, and you just have to do it. And it means a lot when someone does buy it. So I encourage you guys to buy people's zines or whatever. And also, like, I want to emphasize people creating events. I think that's also really important. Justin's actually a really great example of someone who creates events. I think it's really important. I think it's not enough to just be a creative, like a designer who makes visual work. I think you need to actually contribute to the larger community. And I think like large organizations like AIGA, I'm just ranting now basically, but AIGA is like not enough. Like everyone needs to do their own thing and they need to start shit and support people. I got this email from this random guy, Nate, in this city called Milwaukee that I've never heard of. He has this thing called Designer Talking. That's a really, really amazing event, and I had never heard of it. And he brings out really interesting designers to do a day of dialogue and a day of a rapid fire residency. And it's a really amazing event. Like he brings out people that no one else would probably host and people that are making really interesting work who are younger. And I think this is a great event, and I would encourage you guys to look it up. This is me and Nate at the event. I'm not going to talk about the work I made, but this is me and Nate, and I think he's an amazing person, and I want more people to support people because it supports people. I don't know if this makes sense, but this is kind of how I feel about it. Just support each other. It's worth it. And things will pay off. You might not have like a direct idea of how it's going to pay off, but I believe that if you put out good energy, it will come back to you. You won't know when it's going to come back to you, but it will. And the payoff is nice when it happens. And the payoff can happen in a lot of forms. I got another email. This was a month ago, I think. I got this email from a friend I went to school with. He was an MFA while I was at CalArts, and he had done like the layout for one of the Fisk issues, and like we were friends. And then he dropped out to work at Facebook, and he hit me up with this email like a month and a half ago. And this was kind of the first job. At this point, I was freelancing for a year and a half and doing the gallery, and I was kind of getting to a place where I was really happy with my practice. And the idea of just being a designer at a place didn't sound exciting. And this was kind of the first opportunity that seemed like it was kind of similar to my everyday practice and like running a gallery. It was a job at Facebook's Analog Research Lab, which is this weird print studio and artist resident program that they have there, which is crazy. And yeah, it was a dream job. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm into this. Like, this is the first job I'm excited about. So what I'm saying is stuff comes out of nowhere. Like I would have never thought I would ever work at Facebook. And for the last 3 weeks, I've been commuting there. I've been flying to San Francisco every Monday and flying back to Portland on Friday. And it sounds crazy because it is crazy, but it just happened really fast. And next thing I know, I'm at Facebook and I'm like painting poster walls white. So they asked me to make a poster when I first got there. And I was like, there were all these walls like this, like identical walls of posters all over the campus. And I was like, fuck that. Like, I don't want to make another poster. I've made so many posters. Like, why do I want to make another poster that fits into this wall? So, and also like you're in a new place, like you want to gauge kind of what's possible and what they're hiring you for. So I was like, can we just paint this poster wall white? And they were like, yeah. So we went and we painted this poster wall white. And people were like, what are you doing? And I was like, we're painting this white. And they're like, why didn't you just take the posters down? And I was like, it's not the point. It's just the point is like that all these posters look the same and they're not doing anything. Let's just paint them white. So like, that was the first thing I did at Facebook. This was like last week. The second thing I did at Facebook was put these rainbows everywhere. And I cut out all these rainbows. I just printed them on a digital printer, and I just went out on campus, like Banksy style, and put these rainbows all over campus, which I didn't quite know why I was doing it at the time. Like, it just sounded like a cool thing to do. And I put them all over campus. Then I found this quote, and I was like, okay, this is tight. Like, this says, you'll never find a rainbow if you're looking down. Like, that's a sweet, positive message, like, blah, 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 whatever. And then the guy who hired me was like, this is great. It's encouraging people not to look at their phones. And I was like, yeah, exactly why I did it. I just did it because I thought it was funny and I wanted to make people smile, and like I just didn't want to contribute to a poster wall. I wanted to create something that existed higher, I guess. The third thing I did was make this JPEG, which is literally, this is a poster I made. It's actually a JPEG, and I hung it around campus on these white walls and elsewhere. And because I just didn't want to make a poster, I just like wanted to avoid it. And then I did this, and like, I don't know. I don't know why I did it. Like now I'm starting to realize why I did it, and I think it's because like I'm like an analog creative designer who like likes print, but I'm working at like a digital company, and like I don't know anything about tech culture or Facebook or like Twitter or anything really. So I thought it was funny like taking these digital things that you see every day, and just putting them in the real world. So I'm kind of into this right now, and I've never done like installation stuff before. Like this is such a new thing for me. And new things are really scary. And like, they hired me to come work at this company, and it's like a very self-initiative driven job. And it's like, I was super self-conscious. I'm still super self-conscious about the job. I'm like, everyone's new. I don't know anyone. I don't know anything about Facebook. And it's like, why are they paying me? Like, am I doing this job right? Like, did they hire me to put rainbows around campus? Like, I don't know. And like, you question yourself, and that's normal, and I think that's healthy, and I think you need to. And then you see people posting stuff on Instagram, and like, they're kind of into it. And this guy on the right he's funny if you read it. It's a joke. Anyways, and like my boss was into it too, and I was like, tight, like, okay, it's crazy I'm getting paid to do this, but like, if you guys are into it, like, I'm having fun, and I think that's all that matters. And I think like the pressure is good for you. I think it really is, and like, I would have never made this work before if I wasn't at Facebook, and it's really exciting, and the work feels really weird and out of my element, but at the same time, it feels really natural, and I'm really, really thankful for the opportunity. And that brings me to validation. I think validation is really important. I was freelancing for 1.5 years and doing the gallery, which is a lot of work and a lot of money. And I question why I do things all the time. It's really stressful, and it's a lot of work, and it is fun and it's beneficial, but it's nice when you get an email like that from Facebook that like really feels like you're not doing the wrong thing, and you're not wasting your energy or your time. So these things pop up out of nowhere, and it just makes you feel good, and that's good. I think that encourages you to keep doing what you're doing, and it's nice to have people validate you sometimes when, I don't know, yeah. So what I'm saying is, like, we're all on a path. You're on a path, I'm on a path. We're all on different paths, and each one is super unique. And you might not know where you're going, but like, you are on one. And for me, like, it's important for me to have fun and have a comfortable life. Yeah, so in conclusion, have fun. And what I want to say is that we're all still figuring it out. And if you keep that in the back of your head, it makes things a lot easier. Like, I always think that like Kanye doesn't know what he's doing, and that he's figuring it out. And that makes me feel really good about my life. And makes me feel good about like my decisions. Because it is scary, and I think being scared is a good sign. But literally, I feel like this, and I feel like we all have no idea what we're actually doing. Like, in school, you think all these designers have their shit together. Like, yeah, you know what you're doing, right? Like, you're making really good work. Like, you have a really good Instagram. But like, in reality, no one knows what they're doing. It's like a day-to-day struggle, at least for me. But this makes me feel better. And I just want to say that we'll all be okay, like, with all the stress and like work and everything. It's really not that bad, because we're really lucky to be creative people and to be able to make work. Like, do you guys want to be crunching numbers and like people have weird fucking jobs. Like, people do crazy shit. Like, imagine if you had to like clean up dead animals on the street, like roadkill. That would suck. Like, we're really lucky that we're able to like make work and be creative on a daily basis. That's it. Thanks.
Questions and some answers, or we could also just go to the back and look at stuff and talk to Bijan that way too. So
There's a lot of talking.
I know, there's a lot of talking. But does anybody have like an immediate question, or do you guys just want to kind of go to the back and look at posters and talk to Bijan too? Yeah.
So you talked a lot about doing free work and doing stuff for fun, but how do you find a balance to actually like buy groceries? Like, how do you?
I have no groceries in my fridge right now. Well, the thing was, like, quitting Nike really opened that up for me. Like, oh, sorry. Forgot about the mic. Quitting Nike really opened up my day. Like, it allowed me to like get up in the morning, like at 9:30, like make breakfast. And like, the thing for me was, one of the reasons why I wanted to leave Nike was I felt like I was wasting my time. I was there for like 50 hours a week, and like, you're just spending time waiting for someone to look at something, or you're making a presentation, or you're just like, honestly, I was only designing like 10 hours out of the week. So I was like, I could be freelancing, doing the same work for 10 hours a week, making the same money, if not, and just having more time to work on shit for free and like make breakfast, which is really nice, and like sleep in sometimes, and like go walk for fun, like weird things that you just forget about. And like, for me, that's really important to me. So yeah, quit your job. But like, but the thing was like, it was a huge risk, but like, I made really good relationships at Nike, and like, I think people liked me and I liked them, and like, I was like, why can't I make this work? Why can't I quit and still work with these people, you know? Like, I mean, it's risky, but like, I believed that the people would give me work, and like, it took me a few months, but I started getting more work from people, and it eventually worked out, and things grow in ways you can't expect, you know?
Any other questions? Luke?
It sounds like you had a lot of success come from work that you did for free or stuff you just wanted to do by yourself. Is there any trick that you found to making stuff you wanted that got popular? Or is there anywhere you put it or how you went about it that made it happen better than the other?
I think for me, like, it's a big success has been like doing things that are in real life, like doing events and organizing events or working with people in real life. I think that's been like a huge thing for me. I think a lot of my free work or personal work comes from platforms that I've created, and I think like creating platforms for me, I need that because it's hard to like freelance and it's hard like to do your own thing. Like you have no structure. It's up to you like what time you get up. Like you could get up at noon and like slack off the whole day, but then you're not getting anything done, you know? So for me, like creating these platforms like Fisk when I was in school and Fisk now, like it forces me to do something every month, even though like some weeks suck, you know, like some weeks I'm not feeling good and I don't want to do a gallery show, you know, or I don't want to have someone in my house a week every month. I mean, I say that now, but when they're there, it's fun, you know, but like now I'm just like, I want to break, you know? So I don't know, I think I just got off topic, but creating platforms and just doing things in real life or doing things that you're into. Like you might not be into doing things in real life. You might be into doing things like on a website or on a phone or like whatever. Like I think you should just do your own thing, but like it's doing what you're into and just pushing that and doing it for yourself, I think is important. Because like the more you do things for yourself, the better it's going to be and people notice that it's better. If you do something for someone else and you're not into it, they'll know that's not good. And it's because you're not into it. So I think it's important to do things that you're genuinely interested in and that you like spending time on.
You mentioned earlier that, you know, find a way to get interested in work, even though you might not initially think there's a lot of interest in it. I mean, can you maybe like give some examples on how you've done that in the past as well?
So that started from my second year. One of my teachers, Mr. Keedy, he's really mean, and he made people cry. He didn't make me cry, but his year is the worst year at school. You just do the worst projects. They're like visually not interesting at all. They're all about research. And he kept telling us, he's like, it's your responsibility to find a way to be into this project. If it sucks, it's your fault. Like, you gotta do a timeline on the 1940s. Like, I don't want to do a timeline about the 1940s, but you have to find a way to be into it. Like, it's your job. Like, I'm not going to tell you to be into it. Like, you have to be into it. Yeah.
This is kind of random, but you said you wanted to move out of LA. Why did you choose to move?
I had done an internship in Portland before, and I visited every summer. I was in school, and I just liked it, and I liked the people, and I liked the place, and it wasn't too far from LA. Like I could still visit my family, my friends a lot. Like when I first moved here, I was going back every month, and the weather is not crazy. Like it's not easy to go from LA to New York. The weather sucks there. Sorry, Justin. I just, you know, never been in snow, but that's why I decided to stay in Portland. It also seemed like a place where I could do things. Like in the back of my head, it seemed like a place that was manageable. Like if I had an idea, I could execute it. Like the idea of doing something in New York sounds pretty crazy. Like I would never be able to have a storefront or a gallery in New York or LA. Like simply, I would never be able to do that.
I asked you before about doing a gallery show.
Oh, I forgot. So gallery is closing in February. That's the last show. So it'll be like a year and a half, and I'm ending my lease just because it's like, it's been really great, and I've had a lot of fun doing it, but it's just been a lot of work, and like it's every month, and like I never like started the gallery to be like, I'm doing this gallery for the rest of my life. It was just a project. It's just a project, you know, like I think it's had a healthy, short, natural life, and like I'm kind of excited about other stuff, and like I've realized that Fisk will always be a project I'm doing, so I think this will just be another like, what's the word? Hiatus. Yeah. So it'll come back at some point when it's right, you know. Like I feel like it's kind of lived its life, at least in this context that I'm in now, and yeah, that's why. Sorry, we already have all of our shows planned, so.
Is there going to be a funeral?
I don't know yet. Maybe. Yeah, there will be.